the Alma Quartet, which is our band, has a CD out. This is not it. This was a band that I was with in Illinois. Yeah, so we had that band, and we weren't really playing anywhere to speak of, but some of the songs on that started getting some radio airplay.
Really? Okay.
And a couple of labels were calling, wanting to do something with it, and they dropped the ball, and so nothing ever happened with it.
Oh, man.
But,
well,
yeah, such is life. The song that was popular was, where is it here? I gave her the ring, and she gave me the finger.
there you go. Well, I guess my first curiosity is what kind of got you started in music as a whole?
Probably the Beatles.
Okay.
Yeah, the Beatles came out, and probably everybody my age was all about that. And I was too. I wasn't like instantly attracted to them, but I was definitely paying attention.
Right.
And the kid across the street from me, from my parents' house, was taking guitar lessons, and so I wanted to do that. And I did have like not a very good acoustic guitar, and that didn't really go very far. But this kid had a decent electric guitar, so I was playing on his guitar.
Okay.
And he was, like we were just talking about a minute ago, was one of those that didn't really have it.
Yeah.
But I spent a fair amount of time playing his guitar.
Yeah.
Which is part of how I ended up playing right-handed.
Okay, yeah.
Because before we had guitars, I always pretended I was playing like this.
Right.
But that guy had a right-handed guitar, so I just started playing that. And,
okay. Well, I forget that you're a lefty.
yeah.
Okay. So you've never just done it with the it doesn't feel awkward doing right-hander?
No.
Okay.
No. I don't remember ever thinking that. It's just that was the way his guitar was, so that's what I played.
Right. Have you ever tried to experiment with a lefty guitar?
A little tiny bit.
Yeah.
And I've always wondered what would happen if I bought like a cheap lefty bass and tried to play it. But the little bit that I've turned a regular bass upside down, I was just like, nah, this ain't ever going to happen.
Yeah, just won't work. Who was it? Who was the bass player for Prince?
Well, there's been a couple.
Right. He's a black guy. I know that.
Yeah.
Played like I want to say it was called something Dolphin.
Oh, yeah, that could be Warwick.
Yes, the Warwick Dolphin. I can't remember his name though.
I don't know him either.
But yeah, I've watched.
Did he play left-handed?
Yes, yeah. But
Oh,
it
wow.
always confused me because that was the first introduction for me on a bass that was left-handed and the low E strings at the bottom.
Yeah.
And it's just
Yeah,
trying to wrap my head around it.
Yeah, there is every variation that you could dream up. There's somebody doing it. Yeah, it's crazy, but yeah, there's no rules.
Yeah.
And
it's just whatever you pick up, I guess.
yeah, and whatever you make work.
So acoustic guitar, so you probably learned chords and all that first.
Oh yeah, probably. I think that guitar, the action was high enough that playing chords was not real doable.
Yeah. Put a giant dent in your finger.
Yeah, it was just a real cheap thing.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
but once, I guess, part of it for me, because my parents, had gotten me into band in school, and
Right.
I don't remember if they'd rented a trumpet or bought one. Probably rented the first one, but they weren't really wanting to spend money on guitars since they'd had this, trumpet.
Yep.
And so eventually, I guess, persistence paid off.
There you go. There you go.
And then, like everybody that was trying to play in bands, all the people my age at the time, nobody had a bass. And once I figured out what that was, then I thought, well, that might be cool.
Yeah.
Because nobody has one and somebody's got to do it. So
Yeah.
that kind of worked out.
So you just kind of gravitated to bass, and then was it just kind of you picked it up and fell in love, and it was kind of a I'll do this forever kind of thing?
Well, it's kind of how it turned out.
Yeah.
But honestly, I remember going to what was called the Heart of Illinois Fair,
Okay.
and they always had a tent that had bands playing in it. And the bass you could always hear all over the fairgrounds.
I'm sure, yeah.
And, so once I realized what it was I was hearing, then I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then around the same time, I figured out what a bass guitar was, and so it's like, okay, well, I want to do that.
Yeah.
And part of it, again, was because nobody else was doing it. So it was a combination of those things.
Okay. Awesome. So who were some of your early influences who kind of helped build you?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, the Beatles for sure, but probably more so for me was a group called Steppenwolf
Okay.
and
Yeah.
Born to Be Wild.
Yep.
And, I think for me, the Beatles were maybe a little too twinkier,
Yeah.
and Steppenwolf was a little more hardcore and,
Yep.
and actually the guy that played bass for them had a Gibson. I don't know now if it was the EBO or EB3, but I ended up with a Gibson EBO, and so I thought I was cool because I was,
Right.
had kind of the same thing, and which, I wouldn't want one of those nowadays,
No,
but
yeah. That would, not
I
be
mean,
good.
they're still around, and some people are playing them and stuff, but the especially the single pickup model, it was Mud
Boy,
City, and
no kidding.
the humbucker right up against the fingerboard, and
Yes.
everybody calls that pickup a Mudbucker
There
because
you go.
it's
Paint it brown like the doo-doo it produces.
well, yeah. At the time, when if you got an amp that could reproduce the lows,
Yeah.
everybody was excited because nobody had that much low end before.
Right. Kind of rock the
Yeah,
shook the
exactly.
walls
And yeah,
Yep. Okay. So getting into, before you did all your schooling, did you go and play gigs or?
yeah, it was kind of both.
Okay.
I remember being in bars that I shouldn't have been in,
Ah.
like that I was too young to actually be in.
Okay.
And I remember my parents, especially my mom, because my dad was working, dropping me off places. And, it seems like it wasn't too long that I was playing with guys older than me. Because I remember them being able to drive and stuff, and my mom was still hauling me around because I was probably 14 while they were 16 or something. But I don't know, I just got lucky and figured out what was going on quick. And so there was always, hey, check this little kid out, and,
Yeah.
and I got to hang with the older guys and play with them. So
There
it
you
didn't
go.
hurt anything.
Yeah. Do you think that by playing with the older guys that probably were pretty talented, that it maybe forced you to be a lot better?
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
definitely. Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of a proven concept.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that they're older, but just that they're better.
Right.
Because you'll always rise to their level. And the same thing's true if you're good and you play with guys that aren't as good.
You'll fall.
Yeah, they're probably not going to come up to your level.
Yeah.
And I've been in that situation a few times too, and I don't recommend it.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame
Yeah.
you there. So what kind of drove you to want to go to school and really take it on as more of a career?
Well, that's a good question too. Obviously I had to go to school because
Right.
my parents wanted me to go to school. And when I got out of high school, I just kind of messed around. I had some kind of job and I was playing some gigs, and they talked me into going to the local community college. Up there, we called it a junior college. And the thing was, they were just like, just go take a class, and I remember my mom probably saying, just take a business class or something.
Yeah, something
Which,
beneficial.
yeah, which is pretty standard,
Yep.
just go take a business class. And so I guess I did that. And I wasn't full-time at that school right away. I kind of sneaked into it, and
There you go.
eventually I was full-time.
Yeah.
And because I was playing trumpet, I was in the school band, and I was essentially ended up being a music major.
Okay.
But I had taken some other odds and ends before, some of which I think applied to the degree. But
Yeah.
at one time, I was even taking private pilot flight school, so,
Oh, okay.
which I didn't ever finish. But
So you
and
could fly a plane?
well, I thought I was going to, but I didn't ever get it done. But yeah, so after I got out of there, some guys I knew from the Peoria area had gone to Champaign and had a band, and they were traveling around. And they wanted me to be their sound guy and sort of roadie.
I got you.
And I had a buddy that wasn't doing anything either, so we both ended up in Champaign driving a box truck with a bunch of gear in
boy.
it, and setting up PA and all that kind of stuff. And I've always been interested in that stuff, and
Yeah.
so there's nothing like having to do it,
Trial by fire and
Yeah, so
Yeah.
so I wasn't really playing at the time.
okay.
I was doing that stuff, and
Just more of a road crew.
yeah, that was
Yeah.
a lot of hard work, and not much pay. Of
Well,
course,
yeah.
of course it was a different time, but I think I was getting $110 a week.
Okay. Well,
Which
pays something.
is like what, 440 a month. So
Oh boy,
yeah,
man.
yeah, it was. We'd save up all week to be able to go to one of them steak joints on Sunday, and
Yeah.
actually have a real meal.
So
But-
did you play in church any while you were doing that?
No,
Oh, okay.
no. I think that lasted about a year, and then I ended up probably back at my parents' house and stuff. And,
Yeah.
yeah, I had like some odds and ends jobs. I worked at a Ford house for a while in the parts department. And,
Okay.
I hated every minute of that, of course. And my brother was the service writer there.
Oh, I'm sure
And
that
he
was even
hated
worse.
that. And neither one of us liked working together. And, but I managed to get on with some record retailer guys up there called Co-op Tapes and Records.
Okay.
And I started as a driver. They had stores in Illinois, Wisconsin, and Iowa. And so if you were a driver, you drove to all those stores twice a week delivering records.
Okay. Yeah.
And so sometimes you'd take the west route, sometimes you'd go north. And so I did that. That helped me get my foot in the door. And so I ended up working for them for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years probably.
Yeah.
And I was some kind of buyer for them, and somebody that I did business with in California said that there was a record company in Amarillo, which was the Hastings Books and Records guys.
Yep.
And they were looking for somebody that did what I was doing for the guys in Illinois.
Yeah.
So they flew me down here, and I interviewed, and I'd never been in Texas, and
Okay.
and after seeing the place, and they were like, "Okay, so you want the job?" I was like, "Nah." So,
Oh man.
yeah, well, it takes some getting used to. I was used to
It does.
trees and rivers and
Well, yeah. I mean,
stuff like that.
from. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I flew in on a Sunday night, and they put me up in a Holiday Inn that was on I-40.
Yeah.
The next morning, I looked out the window, and behind the place was an oil refinery.
There you go.
And I was just like, what,
Yeah. Just a complete
yeah,
different.
this place is nasty. But like a month later, the guy was still calling me going, "You sure you don't want this job?" And I was like, "Yeah, okay."
Yeah. Just. So you
know.
didn't take the one in Hastings?
Yeah, that was the job. Yeah,
Oh,
so
okay.
I took that. And between the record company in Illinois, I also worked for a hi-fi store.
Okay.
Up there. I was selling hi-fi gear, and I had known those guys for quite a while, so I liked that, but it wasn't going anywhere either, And
Sure.
I had been in a blues band, and the two main people moved to Georgia, so left the rest of us kind of going, "What are we going to do now?"
Yeah. Like just.
So yeah, so that when the opportunity came to move, I was like, might as well.
Yeah. Just kind of had nothing left. And.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I think I had ex-wife at the time too, and so it was like good reason to get out of town.
Don't blame you there.
Yeah.
Oh
so-
boy.
yeah.
So why South Plains? What got you here?
Well, yeah. So I put up with the company in Amarillo maybe 3.5, 4 years, something like that.
Okay.
And I couldn't hardly take it anymore. I ended up at Randy's Music Mart, which was
Okay.
a music store.
Yeah.
And I was helping install church PAs and selling some stuff and all that. And somebody called on the phone one day from Lubbock looking for a bass player. And so, I'm there in the store and somebody hands me the phone.
Okay.
And so I ended up coming to Lubbock to see what they were doing.
Yeah.
It was a guy from Germany that was doing advertising for the Furs grocery stores. So he had money and all this, and because he was a drummer also, so he wanted to have a band. It was called Radio Zebra.
Oh boy.
And so I got the job playing with them, and they put me on salary. So I was,
Can't beat that.
yeah, no, and I think, as I recall, I think it was $1,500 a month,
Hey.
which wasn't terrible,
No. Yeah.
And I didn't have much to do during the day.
Yeah.
They put me up in an apartment in Lubbock, and I had already found out about the school over here because when I was installing PAs, I was in Dumas one time, and some old man that was a bricklayer was going, "My son teaches that stuff down there in Levelland." I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
And so
what's
I'd
up with
actually come
Levelland?
over here to see what was going on. So
Okay.
and so I'm in Lubbock, really doing nothing during the day.
Yeah.
They rehearsed at night and stuff. So I knew about this place, so I signed up for sound tech. And I
Okay.
thought, well, maybe I'll be a recording engineer or something. And while I was doing that, the guy that was the bass teacher got himself fired.
Oh no.
And yeah, too bad for him. And I happened to be in the right place at the right time. And
Yeah.
I'd been playing in some ensembles and stuff. And the guy that was the chairman, John Harton,
Yeah.
after he fired that guy, he comes and finds me and says, can you fill in for like the last 2 weeks of a semester?
Yeah.
Which I did. I had taught lessons before, so I kind of knew what I was doing. And then I got to apply for the job. So the first full semester, I was temporary full-time, they call it.
Okay.
And so I had applied, somebody else applied, and I got the job. And,
Well, rest is history.
here I
kind of
am
thing.
37 years later.
So was teaching versus playing, I guess since you stuck around for so long, you must have really enjoyed the teaching part.
Yeah. Yeah, historically, I guess it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Because I remember being a kid and I had a chalkboard and I would set it up out in the yard and teach the little kids music lessons.
Okay.
And it was, I was learning because I was in band at the grade school and stuff like that. And so I was having music lessons for the neighborhood kids.
Nice.
And so I guess I just was always supposed to be a music teacher.
Yeah. Just kind of
And
predestined calling, I guess. And
yeah, it's just, I totally give God the credit for putting
Yeah.
me in this because, just like I just got done telling you, I was bouncing around all over the place. And, this just worked out, and if it hadn't worked out, I didn't have a plan B. I didn't know what I was going to do. I thought, well, maybe I'll move back to Illinois or something, but
yeah.
there wasn't anything to do there,
Sure.
And so,
Just more bouncing around, I would suppose.
yeah, exactly. And I knew some musicians in Canada, and I was thinking, well, I could go up there and
That'd be a
maybe
cold start.
well, yeah, what those guys were doing, it was funny because they were on the road across Canada and stuff, and they had a deal with an agent that if they'd do so many winter months, they'd put them in Hawaii for a couple, 2 or 3 months. And
Okay.
but they were telling me stories about that, like they had a diesel-powered bus, and if they'd go to what's one of those towns? I can't remember the name of it now, but one of those joints way up north. They just leave the bus running for like 2 weeks at a time.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and because it wouldn't start if you shut it off. And
Right. Yeah. Because of the
so
wind,
yeah,
the
and so
weather.
I was like, that's not a really good plan B. So it's
Yeah.
a good thing this worked out.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So what was the early years of teaching like? What was kind of the
Well, the program was going good. and I had students right away. Of course, I was still somewhat young,
Yeah.
probably maybe 30, something
Okay.
like that. And so a lot of my students weren't too much younger than me, but I just always felt like, I would try to deal with somebody on whatever level they were and try to get them,
Yeah.
stepped up. And,
Yeah.
and that seemed to always work. And I think that I've tried to always get along with people, even though not everybody is easy to do that with. And,
Yeah. There's a few.
and I seem to have a fair amount of patience, as I never get too bent out of shape over
Yeah.
anything, and I think that works.
Well, that's good.
You
Yeah.
know.
That's a good thing to develop because there's a lot of people that don't have
Right.
patience.
Well, yeah, and the students are here to have a good time and
Yeah.
enjoy what they're wanting to do and stuff, and
Well, and you have the commonality of, I guess, really the bass and
yeah.
learning all that. you know.
Yeah, and I've always wanted to treat other people the way I wanted to be treated.
Sure.
And in schools, colleges, whatever, universities, some instructors think that they're here to get their butts chewed, and that you can humiliate them and insult them and all that stuff, and I'm just like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I have no interest in being that guy.
Well, nobody learns that way, really.
No, I don't think,
Yeah.
but we've had them here too, not in this department so much, but some of the other parts of the campus. And,
Man.
but I always figure that's how they were treated when they were in school. And so they
Sure.
think that's what they're supposed to do. It's sort of like how people grow up to be like their parents,
Yeah.
And I don't treat people that way. And
Man.
that seems to have worked.
Well, yeah, there you go. So did you learn some bass from in college, or was it kind of more?
Well, yeah, not that much. I was still playing in some bands and stuff like that.
Yeah.
In college, there was a guy when I was in the junior college that played bass, electric bass, and he was real good. But we were friends, and I played in a band with one of his brothers that was a guitar player, and I was still playing horns and stuff. And I did play electric bass in a musical at that school one time, so being able to read helped. you
Right,
know.
yeah.
And I think that guy had actually gone out east. I think I found some records one time that he had played on it with somebody in New York and somebody else out
Okay.
east. He passed away a few years ago. I saw that online once too. I was like, that's too bad, because
Yeah.
he was my age. So,
Yeah.
But most of the bass learning was just me, doing cover tunes for the most part.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I got here that I had any inclinations towards playing jazz. And there was a guy that taught jazz guitar here and taught sound technology that was getting me in on it, because
Okay.
he wanted somebody to play bass. And
Yeah.
so that was pretty much me starting from scratch.
Right.
Fortunately, that guy was patient.
Oh, good.
And so I've been faking it or working on it ever since. And then the band with Jerry, we started in 2003,
Okay.
and I was pretty green jazz wise then, still too.
Yeah.
I could fake it, but I was not the first call locally for, I was probably the third or fourth call.
Right.
But but obviously we stuck with it, and we probably maybe one of the, if not the longest running bands in the Lubbock area. So,
Okay.
I think.
Well, could be. You
Yeah.
still talk to any of those guys, or
What's that?
you still talk to any of
Oh
those
yeah,
guys today?
yeah. We're still doing it. We just played Valentine's Day at La Diosa Cellars, and
Okay.
he was saying that was year 22. I was thinking it was 23, but
Oh man.
it's a lot of years in a row,
Yeah.
And we were the first band to play at La Diosa,
Okay.
and we've been playing there ever since.
So what all do y'all still do besides just that?
Oh, a Funky Door.
Okay.
Yeah, we were playing in Amarillo for a long time at quite a few places, and we're not doing that anymore. I think Jerry and I both were tired of driving up there, and one of the places, I still like the place, but the management wasn't all that cool. And, I always kind of try to make friends with the employees and stuff. And the turnover's just huge, And I think in the server business or the industry, it's that way anyway. But that place was people were coming and going, like every day. And
Golly.
yeah, and we just, like I said, I think we were tired of putting miles on the car and all that stuff. We still play in Canyon. Jerry and I do a duo thing there. We just play the same jazz tunes, just the two of us. And
Sure.
we do that every now and then, but I think he's kind of more into doing his solo thing because then he doesn't have to pay me. So, which, I understand.
Yeah, I mean,
no big deal.
Is he doing that full time? Is that how he's making his living?
Well, no, he teaches here. He got on here about 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
So he's full time here, and he actually has a praise ensemble. He
That's
was
cool.
here a while ago, just before you got here.
Okay.
And he was loading up gear to go play with his praise ensemble in Smyre, I think.
Oh boy. Well, I mean, I would say that's far, but
Yeah, but he's been doing a lot of that, and what's cool too, you might be interested in this. He actually instigated a program, kind of a cooperation thing between us and Wayland Baptist.
that is cool. Yeah.
They have a worship leader program,
That's cool.
and so his kids can go straight from here to there.
Yeah.
And they've agreed to accept a lot of the credits.
Man.
Because schools for transferring, they could just go no.
Right.
But once they agree that they'll take certain amount of things, then the student can leave here and already be on the way when
Man.
they get there.
Well, that's definitely cool.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people come here, do their basics, and then bounce wherever.
Yeah, no, that's totally true.
Yeah.
And so I think that's pretty hip. And we have a similar agreement with Tech for, they call their pop music as vernacular music,
Okay.
which means all kinds of eclectic styles.
Yeah. Just
But
everything.
somebody could get some commercial music degree here and go to Tech, and some of that'll transfer.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it used to be a big issue with a lot of the people a lot of the faculty on campus that, none of that stuff transfers. It's worthless, and the fact is that's never been true. But I was never able to change anybody's mind. It just because a lot of people didn't really like what we were doing, and it looked like we were having too much fun and all that kind of stuff. So.
Oh yeah. Well, from what I remember, from what I've heard, SPC was popping back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's true, and it still was. The COVID thing hurt.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's coming back, and I think it's not too far from where it was.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't have any numbers on the top of my head, but
Sure.
just judging by the number of people that are up and down the halls and stuff, I don't think it's too far from the way it was.
What kind of stuff were y'all doing?
Oh, for during COVID?
Well, I mean, when it was kind of really in its heyday.
Oh, well, I mean, the same thing we're doing now, just more of it, probably.
Okay.
Like I would have probably twice as many students in my business class that I have 3 people in right now. On Monday, Wednesday would have had probably 25 or 30,
Man.
Stuff like that.
Okay. You do a business class?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's called Survey of Music Business. Sometimes I kid about it being the history of music business. The music business is changing all the time really fast, and so about the time somebody comes out with a textbook, it might as well be called the history of
Exactly.
So but yeah, Scott Ferris used to teach that. You know him at all?
I've heard the name. I haven't.
He runs Amusement Park Studio in Lubbock.
Okay. Yeah.
So he taught guitar here in ensembles, and he taught that class.
Okay.
And then when he left, we were in a meeting, and whoever the chairman was at the time says, "Anybody want to take that class?" And I was like, "I'll take it."
Yep. Just
Yeah,
hop on
because,
it.
I saw opportunity to learn some more stuff,
Yeah.
and do something that I was somewhat interested in already anyway.
Yeah, there you
And
go.
so why not, you
Yeah.
know? And I've been, I think, what people call nowadays a lifelong learner. You know, I'm still, you know,
Still learning.
I'm always about learning, and I'm always in some kind of rabbit hole somewhere.
Well,
And
there's plenty to jump into. That's
yeah,
for sure.
yeah, and then, you know, I now that there's AI, I even use that sometimes. You know, if there's
Okay.
something that I'm curious about, then I'll type it in and see what comes back. You
Yeah.
know, and so
Little research tool.
yeah,
and-
exactly. So,
Yeah, I'm not against using it either. I know.
No.
I know a lot of people are banning it and all that, but I don't.
no, I don't know.
It's here. I mean, you might as well embrace it at this point.
It's kind of like this sign that says, "I drink coffee and I know things."
There you go.
Yeah,
Well, speaking of, I noticed there's an album behind there.
yeah.
You actually made some albums, didn't you?
Well, yeah. Let me show you this. The Alma Quartet, which is our band, has a CD out. This is not it. This was a band that I was with in Illinois,
Oh, okay.
and
Dude.
that band. You see where I'm at there? Yes.
Snazzy guy in the back there.
Yep. And
Oh, yeah, rocking the stash and the long hair.
yeah, yeah, that's it. Yeah, so we had that band, and we weren't really playing anywhere to speak of, but some of the songs on that started getting some radio airplay.
Really? Okay.
And yeah, and a couple of labels were calling, wanting to do something with it, and they dropped the ball, and so nothing ever happened with it.
Oh, man.
But
Well,
yeah, such is life. The song that was popular was, where is it here? I gave her the ring and she gave me the finger.
there you go.
Yeah, if there was ever a country song,
Right.
that would be it.
Okay. Well, you did one with the quartet too, didn't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, that one, I think we're out of copies of that. You know, we actually did have CDs of that. This is it here. At least I've got it on iTunes.
First thing I saw was your last disguise.
So, yeah.
Okay. Nice.
So we recorded this at Texas Tech, and I don't know if you knew this, but I didn't at the time, but Texas Tech has a full recording studio in the basement of the library.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and you have to go through the reference books to get to it. You kind of wind around, and there's a door that you can knock on.
Okay.
And it's a super cool studio, and if somebody in your band is a tech student, you can record for free.
Really?
At the time, we were using a tech drummer, so we got to record for free.
Man.
And the engineer was a girl named Amy DeVoe that went to school here, so we
Yeah.
knew her.
Dude.
And we would go down there and record a song a week until we had it all recorded.
So when you were making this album, like what was kind of the process? Because I know
Sorry?
every band's different. I was watching this other recording studio, and they would have a band come in, and then they'd give them a song, and
Yeah.
then they'd tell them to make it in their own style. But like watching the process.
Yeah.
So what was kind of y'all's process there?
Well, we would pick whatever song we were going to do next, and we would rehearse it at Jerry's house.
Okay.
I think where he was living at the time. And that would probably have been like a Sunday. And then we'd go record it on Tuesday.
There you
And
go.
like I said, we just kept going until we had them all done. And all the songs on there, they're all originals. Jerry wrote all of them except one. The piano player wrote one.
Okay.
And so
Very cool.
yeah,
What's the album called?
Solitude.
Solitude.
That's actually one of the songs.
Okay.
And the one that Jerry didn't write was called Someday Adelaide.
Okay.
That's actually probably one of my favorites, if not favorite. But the piano player wrote this, and he would never tell us who Adelaide was. This has a cool bass thing. he actually wrote this bass line. It wasn't me. Yeah,
Really?
he had what I was supposed to play, but it was cool.
I see you, it's full of grace. I see you, it's statuesque. I see you, it's worth the chase. I see me, it's broken. I see me, it's closed for business. I see me, it's clumsy. I see me, it's out of place. So today
Yeah, so that, like I said, I think
Funky.
it's pretty cool.
I like it.
Let's see what else is. Well, I actually played upright bass on this.
Okay.
I think. Yeah. This is actually the same song as the one up here called I Remember. Jerry's friends with the guy that's the Portuguese professor at Tech.
Okay.
So he got the guy to translate the lyrics for him to
Nice.
Portuguese and then help him
Help him sing.
phonetically. Jerry speaks Spanish, but you know, Portuguese is close, but not
Right.
the same. So,
That's cool, man.
yeah. I think this one was cool too, if I remember. I haven't heard any of this in a long time. This is me on upright bass again too.
And still I can't believe I'm sleeping, dreaming.
Kind of Sinatra there.
Yeah, it's kind of dark. It's got some kind of dark changes and stuff.
Awesome.
It's funny. There's this. Well, I guess we had this on a while ago. The Solitude. Yeah. Here's one that we still play sometimes too, called Sound.
Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's kind of got some Latin flavor
yeah.
to it.
Yeah, we're all big on that, I think.
Okay.
And you know, Jerry's Spanish background and
Right.
Mexican, and yeah, I love that kind of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And
Well, that brings up an interesting question because I know when I was first kind of self-teaching myself bass,
yeah,
one of the big things that I kept running into was like when you play a different genre, it's kind of a different style.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Sure.
Yeah. So what does a Latin kind of have in it that makes it? Well, I guess Latin. As far
yeah,
as bass
that's a
goes.
good question. Yeah, I think it would be true with any style. All the instruments have a thing that they do for that style,
Okay.
you know, and so like I couldn't play like the style of bass like from a heavy metal tune or
Well,
something,
sure.
you know, and so you have to know what's correct for every style
Yeah.
that you're going to play.
Okay.
And depending on what instrument you play, then that's what determines,
Yeah.
you know. And like in this stuff, the Latin stuff for bass, it's usually roots and fifths, do 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 do,
I gotcha.
you know. And anything beyond that, I mean, you can add here and there, but you got to keep it, you know, you got to keep it on the road.
Right.
And so yeah, you can't get too far out of line.
Right. Okay.
Some of the other stuff you can, but these, if you want it to be realistic,
Sure.
you know.
Yeah. Okay.
So is that a
Interesting.
fair answer? So
Yeah.
Every style that you want to play, you have to research it and know what's correct for that style.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, because I mean, even in the worship sense, it's kind of its own genre, I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah, no, that's true. And, you know, we've talked about, you know, the majority of it is kind of whole notes and,
Yeah,
you know, which is fine because we're not there to entertain per se,
sure.
you know, but I do think that a certain amount of movement can drive the intensity, you know,
Yeah,
and so I think that's important,
yeah.
you know, so.
So, what is your take on? Because I mean, we were talking about it earlier, but like, you know, what? I guess if you use a pick or don't use a pick or add some seasoning, don't add seasoning, like what's kind of
Yeah,
your gauge?
well, like one of those tunes that's Someday Adelaide, I was using a pick on that.
Okay.
Doot, 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 doot.
Yeah.
You know, because trying to get that rhythm with my fingers, it would have just been mud.
Yeah.
So, and I'm pretty sure it was probably palm muted. Doot, 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 doot,
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you could even see the thing like the pick. If I was playing with a pick at the church, it would be weird just because it's just whole notes.
Well, yeah.
You know, it would probably fit when things turn into, you know, when the drummer starts going doom, 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 you know, and that. Yeah, it's just, it doesn't fit every situation.
Right.
And if you're sensitive to that, not everybody would be. I have a student that, and he's a good guy, but he mostly wants to play with a pick. And,
Yeah.
you know, and that's fine. You know, there's no laws against it. It's that's not going to be the sound that everybody's looking for.
Right.
But at the same time, there have been players that have made a career out of that sound.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Carol Kay was one of them that played. Somebody, I saw something the other day saying she played on like 10,000 records or something.
Wow.
I don't know if that's true, but she played on a lot of records, and she pretty much always played with a pick.
Man.
And so if you wanted her, that's what sound you're going to get,
Yeah.
you know.
But I mean, I guess in that sense, she kind of established herself already
Yeah.
as a pick
Yeah.
bassist. So
Yeah.
you know that going
Well,
in.
that's true. Plus, there's always been different kinds of picks.
Okay.
You know, I remember seeing some that were made out of felt.
Yes, I have
You
one.
know, and I think somebody said those were ukulele picks.
Yes.
But some
yeah,
bass
this is
players used them. You know, there's thumb picks. There's all kinds of material that they're made out of.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, it's just you find something that works, and that's the sound, and you know, so
Yeah, I know. I've back when I was first starting, I picked up one of those big. I don't know if you've seen them, the big purple ones.
yeah,
That
oh
are
yeah,
just massive. Learned real quick. I don't like those.
no, no, yeah. I had a friend. He's passed away now, but his name was Eric Scott, and he played bass. He actually played with Alice Cooper one time.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, back in the day, he was in California. Alice was in Arizona, and he and a buddy, I think it was a drummer, somebody heard that Alice Cooper was looking for musicians, and so they jumped in a car and went to Arizona and auditioned and got the gig.
There you go.
And that guy always played with his thumb, you know,
Okay.
just his thumb, boom, 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 you know.
That seems hard.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't do it. I might do it now and then, but
Yeah.
but that was, you know, and
Just their style.
he sounded great. He was a great player. So
Yeah.
it's just whatever works for you, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that kind of reminds me of not a bass player, but a guitar player that's been coming out. It kind of been gaining some popularity as Matteo Minusco.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and he does the
Oh
flamenco.
man, that guy's ridiculous.
I know. I know.
Jeez.
I can't even keep up.
I don't know too many people that could.
No, he's on another level.
Yeah.
That's
well,
for sure.
but he's got his own thing, and
Yeah, but I remember him talking about he just would get a lot of criticism for the way
Yeah.
he played, and it's just people.
Yeah.
You're always gonna have a critic, I guess.
well, yeah, and you know, there's probably some jealousy there, I would guess.
oh,
but
I'm sure.
you know, but there's no laws. You
Yeah.
know, it's just the thing about music and pretending that, well, there's only one way you're supposed to do it or something, to me is like ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean,
You know, I remember one time in graduate school we were talking about rating somebody's solo, and I was like, you can't do that.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you know, how are you going to rate it, you know?
Well, yeah, that's a good point.
Oh, well, he played faster than somebody else. Well, maybe he didn't want to play faster, you know?
Well, that brings up an interesting question because I've heard two different statements. There's groove and then there's technique. What's kind of the difference between groove and technique there?
Well, I think groove is you fitting in with the song
Okay.
and playing appropriately,
Yeah.
and locking in with the drummer or everybody that's playing, really. It's not just the drummer. But technique is more about you being able to do musically what you attempt to do.
Okay.
You know, because the idea with it being a conversation amongst musicians, especially in the jazz realm, you know, you want to be able to say what you hear in your head that
Right.
you want to say.
Yeah.
And so that requires technique.
Okay.
You know, does that make sense?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And the same thing with the church stuff. If I feel like I want to move from this chord to the next, instead of just going there, I
Right.
need to know how to do that.
Right.
And that's
not play
technique.
not play a funky note that everybody
Well,
looks
right,
at
yeah.
you. We all
Yeah,
know.
well, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess learning technique, I think we were talking about it earlier, like is it, in your opinion, is it required that you learn theory and all these things to be a good musician, or can you be a good musician without it, or is it kind of you can, but you won't ever be at the level of somebody who knows the stuff?
Well, yeah, there's a lot of ways to look at it. A lot of theory is knowing the lingo, so
Okay.
you can communicate with other players.
Yeah.
You know, so if you're saying, hey, it's supposed to be a minor 7 chord there, you know, that everybody else knows what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And first of all, that you even know that it is a minor 7 chord. Does that
Right.
make sense? So,
Yeah.
so that's important. I don't know. That's part of it. I'm trying to think what else about that. I mean, there's always going to be players that can play really good, but because, just like I said, they don't know the lingo or whatever, they don't know how to tell anybody else what they're doing.
Okay.
You know, I was in a band with Darren Welch one time, and I was trying to get his drummer to play a triplet, and he was just looking at me like, huh?
Like what's
You
a
know?
triplet?
Yeah, and it's just like, what? You know, so that for me was frustrating
Right.
because I wasn't trying to be technical. I was just saying a common music term, and this
Yeah.
guy was out to lunch, you know. And he was a nice guy, and he could play,
Yeah.
just like we're saying, he could play, but you couldn't communicate with him on a musical level.
Okay.
And music theory is not going to make somebody a great musician. Somebody said once, and I think it was Miles Davis, but don't quote me. I mean, it could have been anybody. But they said something to the effect of, with theory, you learn everything you can so you can forget it.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, which my take on that is it's like learning English or Spanish or whatever. You learn enough to be able to communicate with everybody else that speaks the same language,
Exactly.
you know? And if you stopped learning language, or let's say English, when you're in the 2nd grade, by now you'd probably have a hard time communicating, or at least you would sound like you quit learning when you.
In
Does
second
that make
grade.
sense?
Yeah.
And so theory can bring you along just like that, and learning music parallels learning language like all the time.
Yeah.
You know, they're very close.
Yeah.
And so then the question then would be, why would you not want to learn more?
Sure. Yeah.
You know?
Well, and I can't remember who said it, but somebody said you're not fluent in a language until you can think in that language.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah. And I guess music would be the same way, you know, if you can't process it up there.
Yeah, no,
by
that's totally,
yourself.
well, and you know, that's back to talking. I mean, you generally, like even you and me sitting here, I'm not working it all out in my head before I say it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I might get an
Exactly.
idea, but I'm not working out sentences before I say it.
Yeah. It just.
And when
it
you're playing
happens.
music, it needs to be the same way.
Yeah.
You know what
Exactly.
I'm saying? Because you can't stop the band and go, hey, I'm going to work this lick out.
Well, you could try, but they wouldn't, they wouldn't let you.
Well, you get thrown out. You won't get asked back. But
Yep.
you know what I'm saying? So,
Yep.
you know, you can't do that.
Exactly. So I've got a myth I was going to see if you could debunk there.
Yeah.
I know I hear it all the time that bass players are just failed guitarists. What's your debunker there?
Well, I've seen here a lot of students that started on guitar and decided that bass was more their thing.
Yeah.
And it wasn't so much that they couldn't play guitar; it didn't float their boat, you know.
Right. Right.
And there's probably other things too, like they probably noticed that, you know, their friend that's the bass player's got a lot of gigs, and you
Well,
know.
I don't know if that'll ever happen, but
Well, I've seen it happen here, you know, and you know, like pretty much seriously around here, pretty much anytime somebody gets to where they can, you know, hold their own, then the ensemble teachers find out about it. And next thing you know, they're in every ensemble that,
oh boy.
yeah. And, you know, it's like the phone rings a lot, in other words,
Yeah.
you know. And another thing about that, of course, a lot of the technique is similar, but just being a good guitar player doesn't make you a good bass player,
Right.
or vice versa, you know. Same way that being a good piano player doesn't make you a good organ player,
Right.
you know. So I just think a lot of people find out that bass is maybe their thing, not so much that they couldn't play guitar, they just didn't enjoy it,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay.
And that's cool, you know.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of students that came from playing guitar.
But just they, gravitated towards bass.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can even attest to that. I was playing with my a Squire Strat back then.
Yeah.
And, I don't know, man. It's just I guess to me it's the rhythm and the groove
Yeah.
that bass can provide that guitar just can't.
Yeah,
You know?
there's one guy that he's a friend of mine. He's a international artist named Gary Willis,
Yeah, Gary Willis.
and he's from Texas. He actually grew up. Well, what's the name of that town? I'd tell you if I could remember. Longview.
Longview, okay.
And he went to school at what ended up becoming East Texas A&M.
Okay.
In fact, I think my ex-wife thinks that she was there when he was there.
Oh, really?
Probably. But he played guitar and bass.
Yeah.
And he said at some point he put the guitar down because he realized he could have more impact on the band playing bass.
Absolutely.
And that's all he does, you know.
Yeah.
In fact, somewhere, somebody came up with a picture of him playing guitar in the East Texas Jazz Band.
Okay.
And it's funny because he's got hair and now he's
Yeah.
bald as a cue ball, but, you know, which I probably shouldn't talk. I may be there before, you know, one of these days too. But yeah, and I thought that made sense. It was
Yeah.
just like I could have more impact on the sound of the band playing bass.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. I feel like it, I don't know, it just opens the door for more opportunity
yeah,
when you're in you're a bass player, you know?
yeah. Well, if you think about it, like in pretty much any band, you know, the guitar player could stop playing and everything keeps going,
This is true. Yeah.
you know.
You're absolutely
And
right.
nothing against guitar or guitar players. It just seems to be the case, you know. Now, if I stop playing,
They'll
everything, you know, craters.
they'll all look at you like, what is the bass
What
player
happened?
doing?
How come we quit, you know? So,
Okay. Well, okay, that brings up a question. So what, in your opinion, is the role of a bass player in the band?
I see it as being somewhere between rhythmic and harmonic.
Okay.
And I think that it can vary. It'd be easy to say it's 50-50,
Yeah.
but I think it varies from, you know, maybe a little more this way or a little more that way, depending on the style or what you're playing,
Okay.
you know. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So it's just kind of a foundation, but also,
Yeah.
I mean, you're playing actual notes. So
Yeah, 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 exactly. And,
Yeah.
And you know, some people will say, well, that's the glue that keeps the band together and all that stuff, and I agree, you know. But
So what's the relationship with the bass and the drummer?
well, it wouldn't make any sense to not be playing together, you
Right.
know. And uh, most times that's not a problem.
Yeah.
I have played with some drummers that it was hard to play with them,
Mm.
and you know, the proverbial we couldn't lock in or whatever. Um, I don't play with people like that hardly ever.
Really? Okay.
And maybe I'm just lucky, but I think those were days past and hopefully gone forever. The people I like to play with nowadays, I like them to just do their thing and not have me have to think about it.
Yeah.
I just play with them, and
Okay.
we just play, and it works out fine.
Yeah.
If I'm having to think about it, then something's not jiving.
Well, yeah, there is
You
that.
know, does that make sense? And,
Yeah.
you know, it's like the drummers at church, and there's nobody that plays at church that I don't think is good. But you know, we've got the click, and I usually turn the drums off because I don't need that in my ears
Right.
to play the song. As long as I got the click and vocals and probably piano, I'm good to go.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and anything more than that gets to be too much clutter.
Yeah.
You know, and I've always said that, and I think it's funny when people are going, well, I'm going to need some hi-hat, and I'm like, no, you're not. You know, I doubt it. You know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if I'm with the click and he's with the click, then we shouldn't have a problem.
Yeah. And we're all with the click.
Now, the guy that I told you about a while ago that sounded like he dumped a bushel basket full of drumsticks, you know, that was a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody could play with that guy.
Yeah. Oh man.
But and there's been some that were not that bad, but still,
Yeah.
you know. And I could always tell after like a gig, I'm just like, you know, I'm exhausted. You know.
Mhm. Yeah. I feel like if the drummer's not locked in, then yeah, it drains you a little more because you got to pick up the slack.
Yeah, that's it exactly. And you find yourself trying to play harder, or maybe
Yes.
trying to push them.
Yeah.
You know, if they're dragging or whatever. And yeah, it's just like you said. Yeah, it'll wear you out.
Yeah.
And
You got to add a little more
yeah.
flavor in there to
yeah,
balance
so
out
I
the
just
scale.
don't like doing that. And I haven't for a long time. I couldn't even name somebody that would make me do that because
Yeah.
I don't want to play with them.
Yeah. Just well, I think you're at the level now you don't have to. So
Apparently,
yeah.
I don't know, but
Yeah.
it just doesn't come up. You know.
Yeah.
So.
Well, what are you working on these days? I know you said you were doing some musicals.
Yeah, I've got 3 coming up this summer.
Okay.
They do like 5, but a couple of them are kids shows, and they don't have. I mean, it'd be like a piano player, and that's it.
Yeah.
But we're doing this Frozen in June. August is Footloose, with like the movie Footloose.
Okay.
And October is Prince of Egypt,
Oh man, that would
which
be cool.
I believe is another Christian one.
Yes.
I'm not familiar with it, but I wasn't familiar with Narnia that we did in October this last year.
Okay.
And so it'll be interesting. You know,
Man.
there were a couple nights that it was getting pretty chilly out there, but we survived.
Yeah.
But so that'll be cool. I'm playing in a couple weeks the West Sounds of West Texas. That's that
Yeah.
pile of charts I was showing you.
Yeah.
And we've got, I think it's what is the date? I'll have to look, but it's there's a Tuesday night that's St. Patrick's Day. I think it's the 17th.
I couldn't
Yeah,
tell you.
of March. And me and the drummer that plays mostly with Alma Quartet and another friend of mine do an Irish thing
Okay.
at Triple J.
Ah.
And so we have all these Irish drinking songs that we do, you know, whiskey for breakfast, and
There you go.
I usually play guitar on that, acoustic guitar. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that this time or bass. I'm
Yeah.
kind of toying with it. But the one guy plays bodhrán, which is the frame drum that they use in Ireland.
Okay. I don't think I've ever seen that.
Yeah, it's like a big round circle with skin on it. The big thing is that there's a 2-headed stick
Yeah.
called a tipper,
Okay.
and the way you play it is like this. you know.
Interesting.
And you can get triplets and different stuff with the tipper, and
pretty
that's
cool.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, so he plays that, and the other guy plays fiddle and banjo and bagpipes,
Nice.
and so he'll actually put on the regalia and have the bagpipes and
Yeah, got the kilt.
the
and
Triple
everything.
J. Having somebody playing bagpipes indoors is just like, it's loud, man. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, blow your socks off.
But it's cool, and
Yeah.
so we're going to do that. And Alma Quartet's got some more dates coming up. You know,
Okay.
January and February are usually a little thinner,
Yeah.
and then March is picking up, and we've got some private parties coming up and stuff. So,
Okay. What private parties are y'all doing?
oh, somebody in Pampa, we've been playing for them now for 4 or 5 years. They want us back, and
Okay.
it pays good. It's kind of a haul, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
that's not just driving across town, but
Yeah.
but it's not too bad. It's about another little less than an hour once you get to Amarillo. So.
Yeah. Yeah, not too bad.
No, and somebody else that I know up that way was talking about something this summer, but I don't know if that ever materialized or not. But,
Okay.
but yeah, we do more private parties, you
Yeah.
know, and of course that's better because it's easier and pays better and
That's true.
that kind of thing. And there's really not that many places in Lubbock that want a full band.
Yeah.
The Funky Door's okay with it. We might be able to start doing that at La Diosa again because we did full band on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
But Jerry really had to talk to the owner again and again
Yeah.
and again to get her to agree to that.
Yeah.
But part of that's because she's used to have a lot of people in there that were peeling the paint off the walls, and
Yeah.
it's not that kind of place.
Yeah, bringing their giant stacks.
Yeah,
and-
I saw a guy in there with a dang SVT one
oh my
time.
gosh.
The 810 cabinet in the
Yeah.
head. I was just like, I'm out of here. I'm not staying for this.
Dude, that'd blow the food off your plate.
Well, you know, if you don't have anything smaller than that, go get something.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, because really in that place, this would be plenty, or
Yep.
that.
Yep. Just a little.
You know, you don't need a SVT in there.
No.
But I think that's how or why she finally quit letting bands play in there, you know.
Yeah.
And the customers don't want to get blown out of their table or anything.
No. Well, they're trying to enjoy the
It's a
Ambience.
romantic place, you know. You
Yeah.
can't be romantic when you're getting your hair parted. You know?
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
Oh man.
so-
Have y'all ever played at was it this jazz place over there on 19th?
Yeah,
Okay. How was
Yeah.
that?
it's okay.
Okay.
The load in is always a little tough there because there's a table where they want the band to be,
Yeah,
and
it's
it's
that little
usually
nook,
full of
isn't it?
people eating.
Oh jeez.
So you got to wait for them to finish,
Oh my gosh.
and then you got to do something with the table. And yeah, it's
Just
not
a-
much fun.
Just a headache. Oh,
Yeah,
boy.
exactly.
What about Cooks? Y'all do anything at Cooks?
I've played there, but not. We don't do the jazz thing there. I don't
Okay.
know that they would even want that.
I don't know. Well, they have 2 stages, don't they? They have like
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
one, and then of course their giant concert.
Yeah, we've never even tried. I don't
Really?
know. Some people that are way into country music are not even willing to listen. You know.
Yeah, that's true. So, what are your current influences as far as music? Are you lean more jazz, or you kind of shake it up a little bit?
Oh, you know, mostly prog stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've always been into that, and I like jazz, and I've gone through phases of listening to a lot of jazz, but when it comes right down to it, I like a lot of the prog stuff more,
Yeah.
and you know, it's more challenging. It would be challenging to play. I don't know that I could even play some of it,
Some of it's hard. Yeah.
but it's interesting to listen to. You know, it's like. I was talking about that Tennessee Whiskey song, which has got 2 chords in it.
Oh, I know.
And I'm not saying that's a bad song, but for me, I need something more than 2 chords to,
Yeah.
you know, to
Something a
keep
little more
my
interesting.
interest.
Yeah.
Let me show you something real quick, maybe
Yeah.
that would be an example, because there's a lot of bands. There's the thing is, the prog thing is still real strong, mostly in Europe. But
Well, it's I feel like it's a unspoken interest.
Yes.
It's kind of popular, but
Yeah.
people don't ever. Nobody really talks about it.
yeah, I think that's true. So the band that one of them that I like are these guys called the Flower Kings. Yeah, so that's the Flower Kings, and a couple of those guys will talk to me, actually. Believe it or not, the keyboard player was in Lubbock last year.
Really?
Yeah, these guys like gig.
Yeah.
And if he's not traveling with the Flower Kings or recording, he's going to pick up gigs. So he was playing keyboards in a group that was an ABBA tribute band from Sweden.
Man, okay.
And I saw he put the dates on his Facebook, and I was like, it said Lubbock, and I was like, what? So, yeah, so I contacted him, and he'll talk to me, and I said, man, you're playing like where I live, essentially.
Yeah.
And so he said, well, I'll make sure you got a ticket at the gate. It's just at the Cactus Theater. So I just went and walked in, and
there you go.
I think we're going to go with you guys.
But so I've got a bunch of pictures hanging out with this guy. His name's Lolly Larson.
Okay.
And he's a monster keyboard guy. I mean, he plays with them, but he plays with other prog guys too. Like I said, they all gig as much as. So these guys, Big Train, is another one that I like a lot. And they used to just be a studio band, and just over the past several years, they've started touring. And their drummer is an American named Nick DiVirgilio.
Okay.
And he actually works full-time at Sweetwater Sound. He's like a drum equipment consultant guy.
Yeah.
And so when they first came to the United States, they went to Sweetwater.
Yeah.
And so I bought a couple of tickets, and I know a woman up in Indianapolis. I didn't know her very good, but I got a hold of her, and I just said, hey, is there any chance you'd go with me to this? And she did, so I flew to Indy and picked her up, and we drove to Fort Wayne.
Man.
And so we spent a couple days there and then went back. And this song's called East Coast Racer. And this is actually was a real train that held the steam engine speed record of 126 miles per hour.
Ooh, okay.
Record which still stands.
Dude.
The bass player in this band plays Rickenbacker. And he plays it like a guitar player, which is just his style, because he is a guitar player, actually. And for him, it was kind of like, well, somebody needs to play bass. So,
yeah.
But in the prog world, Rickenbacker is number one. Like the other guy, Michael Stoll, plays Miss White, but most prog bass players play Ricks. So there's a lot of classical elements and different things, and they like a lot of weird time signatures. Well, not weird, but 5/4, 6/8.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Bouncing it around.
I was thinking somewhere here's some live footage. Let's see if maybe I'm mistaken, but I thought there was. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
I put it in the wrong place, but there's a 6 at the end of that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6. You see what I mean?
Interesting. Okay.
And you hear what the drummer's doing when he's hitting the snare. It reminds me of the clacking of the tracks.
Yeah. Yeah.
This one's interesting. They're actually doing this in Peter Gabriel's studio.
Oh, okay.
And the band members have changed some now. That's Virgilio there. Bass player's over here drinking something. This guy's still in the band. None of the rest of them are. The singer actually passed away. So they're completely regrouped, but this song's cool. And this was one of the first ones I heard. And I think this violin player chick became a nurse or something.
That's interesting.
But they were using the full brass section then.
Yeah.
It's like pretty cool. So this song is called Transit of Venus Across the Sun, which apparently really happens.
Really?
I didn't know that, but apparently at some point, I don't know if it's yearly or whatever, Venus crosses in front of the sun.
Dude, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, this poor singer, I guess he went home one night after he'd been in the studio, and fell down a flight of stairs and
Oh my goodness.
hurt his head. And they,
Boy.
got him to the hospital but couldn't save him. So they've got a new singer now, an Italian guy that is really good. So,
Filled his shoes.
but yeah, this just about put him out of business.
I'm sure.
The bass player writes all this stuff too. He's like their songwriter.
Dude, okay.
Oh, he also plays the Moog bass pedals.
Okay.
It's like a pedal board, a synthesizer. That's another prog thing that
Interesting.
Genesis had started doing that back in the day, and
Man, what are they called? The Moog?
yeah, Moog synthesizers. They just
Okay.
call them the Taurus bass pedals.
Dude.
I don't think they're making them right now. They've had 2 or 3 different versions of them,
Yeah.
and you see them on Reverb sometimes and stuff. But
Yeah. I've
Yeah.
heard of Moog for a couple other things, but man, I
Yeah.
couldn't tell you.
yeah, of course, the main thing is they play low, and you can dial in kind of different synth sounds.
Okay.
And when I used to go see Genesis in Chicago, Mike Rutherford's the bass player, and he'd hit those, and it just, the whole building would
Yep.
be going,
Shaking the walls.
Yeah,
and everything's rattling.
Oh yeah, I loved it.
Oh man, that's hilarious.
Yep.
Well, I guess we can wrap up this interview here. So, what advice would you give to a young bass player or just a musician in general that either wants to pursue music either professionally or as a hobby?
Well, it's 2 different tracks.
Okay.
I mean, you could be a hobby guy, and that's fine.
Yeah.
If you want to, make that your career, you better saddle up. 'Cause there's a lot of work,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of competition,
Yeah.
and no matter who you are, or how good you are, there's always somebody that knows something else or can do something you can't do.
Yep.
And so a little beyond that too is that you got to have good personality, and you got to have good work ethic. You can't be late, you can't be a jerk, stuff like that. You got to
Yeah.
do your homework, and
Absolutely.
so yeah, it can be done, and I wouldn't discourage anybody from doing it, but it's not just a walk in the park.
Yeah.
And what I see, unfortunately, I think with some of the students is that they think that acting like their hero's going to get them there, like drinking and smoking cigs and stuff like that, and that ain't it.
No.
You're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Or another thing that can happen pretty easy is getting locked into playing the local joints, because that's not going to get it either.
No.
Nobody gets discovered out of the spoon,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
You got to get your act together, and depending on what you're trying to do, you may be needing to move to Nashville.
Yeah. That's
And it may also require, undoing some friendships or something. You may need to get rid of whoever is holding you down, and
yeah.
so it's not an easy thing.
It's a life definitely chosen.
Yeah, and it can be done, but it's not something you can just take lightly.
Yeah. Absolutely. I hear you there.
The students over the years, every now and then somebody will say to me, "Well, how come you didn't move to Nashville?" And my response was always, "If I wanted to deliver pizzas, I can do that here." Because if I moved to Nashville, that's probably what I would be doing until I worked
Yeah.
into the scene.
Yeah, and it's kind of a who you know.
Yeah,
who
exactly.
Can get you in
And
there. Yeah.
in the meantime, you're going to be delivering pizzas or being a server at some joint, or one of my students was out there for a while, and he was shampooing carpets. He said he shampooed Peter Frampton's carpet,
Okay.
which,
Man.
you're still shampooing a carpet no matter whose it is. But
This is true.
that he said that while he was doing that, he was looking at all these gold records on the wall and stuff.
Yeah, like I don't know if it'll ever get to the point where somebody's shampooing your carpet.
Yeah,
But-
see, that's what I'm saying. So.
Yeah, that's a tough
Yep, exactly.
Tough business to be in.
Well, yeah, and in fact, I was in Nashville. I've been there quite a few times, but I was there once with some friends that were living there at the time, and we're driving around, and the girl driving's going, "That's the shoe store Garth Brooks used to manage."
Okay.
You know, and I was like, "Really?"
Okay.
You
Interesting.
know, and obviously he's not in the shoe business now, but
Nope.
but you know, he had to pay his dues like a lot of other people.
Yeah.
You know. So,
Yeah. Well, I guess it's the idea that you're gonna
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah. You got to want it really bad.
Yeah.